I just put a tray together of all the ingredients for meatloaf meatballs. We're using my mom's meatloaf. We're making a meatball, and we're gonna put it on top of a Parmesan Polenta. You can see it right here. So get all the ingredients together so we can make this together because you are gonna love it. Meatloaf can be one of those things that I feel like everyone has a memory and theirs is the best, their mom's or grandma's is the best, and it is. So this is a version that you can maybe try, and what I love about it is it's gonna have pretty simple ingredients, but we're just gonna put it together for a really good meatloaf meatball. That means it cooks a little quicker. It means it's more easy just to divvy out, and it's nice to have for leftovers. So what we're gonna have here is some onion that I'm chopping, obviously, along with some aromatics. So I'm doing just a little bit of celery and a little bit of garlic. What we wanna do is not necessarily overdo those underlying flavors, but have some extra kind of vegetal flavor. And what that's gonna do is just enhance everything else. So I'm chopping up somewhat small, because I want it to all be even and cook somewhat evenly. Now, growing up, a lot of times, Mom was in a hurry. She would add maybe dried minced onion because it was so quick. Sometimes some raw onion, but the thing is, raw onion in a meatloaf, yes, it cooks in that time, but it always has a different texture. And I think it's better if we can just get it going a little bit first. So I have some olive oil heating up on the skillet. I'm gonna take some garlic that I've minced, some onion, and some celery, and we're gonna take this, and we're gonna put it right into that skillet and let it start sauteing. And you can hear, it has some nice heat to it, so when we put it on, do you hear that? And of course, always season as you go. We're gonna put some salt on it and some pepper. I brought this mixture over and it's been cooling off, just cooling off a little bit here, and we're gonna add in some fresh thyme. That's gonna, and I like to do it when this is just a little warm, but you don't wanna add it hot to the meat. Stir it around, instantly smell that thyme. Such a great herb to add. So what we have here are all the components that can just get put together to go in. So I'm using both ground beef and ground pork. That just is a nice ratio that really has a lot of good flavor. So we're gonna put those right in there, and we're just gonna mix everything pretty much on top. So we have, now, difference here, quick cooking oats. The reason we're doing quick cooking is so they soak up the moisture in the liquid we're gonna add in. So much like a breadcrumb, these happen to be gluten-free. That's definitely not why we did it growing up. It was just that I think Mom liked them, and we always liked the texture of the meatloaf, which was always very good. It always just really kind of had the perfect texture to it without you realizing what it was. So I'm taking 2 eggs. I'm gonna beat them up just a little bit because anytime you're mixing eggs into something, especially when we're working with meat, oats, all these things, we want them to actually go in there evenly and easily. So mixing them up just to make sure they're mostly mixed, not perfect, but mostly mixed is kind of just a nice way to make sure. So we're gonna put those in. We're of course gonna now add this cooled, remember we've been cooling it, mixture here of all that onion and celery. It smells so good. It has garlic in it, obviously. And what this is gonna do now is have a much better flavor in it, but also a good texture. Like the celery is tender, it's not crisp. It actually cooked down and kind of sauteed, which is what you want. And that's what really makes sure it has that right texture for this. And then of course you need to end with a good dose of salt and some black pepper. And the one big thing here with that pepper is always remember, you have that right ratio of liquid to everything else when it comes to something like a meatloaf. So what I have here is just some beef stock, some good quality beef stock. We're gonna add it right in. And when I'm mixing up like a bouillon or a better than bouillon, I do it right in a salad shaker because it really mixes together easily and you can shake it up. Just pour it in. Then the important thing is to make sure it's well mixed. You can wear a glove, whatever you want. You could have this in a stand mixer if you want to, but you want to make sure it's well mixed, everything is touching each other, but also everything is very evenly combined. You don't want any pieces of anything. I find my hands work best, but do whatever you're comfortable with. And then I will wash up so we can start scooping. I'm finishing up making my meatballs. I'm just using a scooper. You can do whatever you're comfortable with, but this is the easy part. And so do you see how, as opposed to making one big loaf and then making slices, this is individual serving. So if you want leftovers, because obviously it can make some nice leftovers, or if you have a big family, it's just easier to kind of do this way. And now I'm just making sure to get it all out of here. And you can see I just slightly mound it and then just make sure it's patted in nicely just so it comes out. But that's what the oatmeal does. It starts soaking up and holding its shape super well. Do you see how beautiful that is? So I'm gonna wash my hand here. At this point, these aren't a traditional meatball that are gonna go with a red sauce. These are gonna be put like they are. We're gonna put them right into the oven and we're gonna make more of a traditional ketchup sauce for them, that sweet, tangy sauce that we love. So I'm gonna put them in the oven, let them roast, we'll put the sauce together, we'll get the polenta ready. A meal's coming. So just like the sauce traditionally we would put on top of a meatloaf loaf, we're gonna make and put on the meatballs. We're gonna brush them here while they're roasting, but what I have here is ketchup. I use a sugar-free ketchup. That's just what I personally prefer because I'm gonna add some more brown sugar to it. So instead of buying one that has a lot of sugar in it, we're just gonna add that brown sugar in. We're gonna add some apple cider vinegar to balance it out, that sweet tanginess that we want. And then a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. This is just gonna add a kind of a depth of flavor. So I'm gonna put this on the stove over medium-low heat, let it come to a simmer, whisk it completely, and then we'll be ready to go. These have been roasting, they're not done yet. We checked the temperature, but partway through roasting, what I like to do is take this, I guess you can call it a sauce, the topping. It's hardly a sauce, it's a few ingredients. But you can see it just is a nice, thick, sweet, tangy sauce. But what I'm gonna do is take it now and start brushing it on, because what I like is when it bakes on, it kind of caramelizes in the oven while these are finishing. And you can see, do you see how these are nicely just baking perfectly, getting just a little bit browned in the oven? So this glaze is gonna just bake on them and become this sweet, tangy, sticky glaze that makes them oh so good. So I'm gonna put them on all of it. I'm gonna put them back in the oven until they're done. Then we'll put the polenta together because you don't wanna do that until these are ready, and we'll eat. I just pulled these out of the oven. Look how beautiful. Like that sauce caramelizes and darkens. It's gorgeous. You check the temperature, you take them out when they're done. It's a ground meat. You don't wanna guess, you wanna make sure they're fully cooked. So they're gonna stay hot while we're just finishing now up the polenta. So over here I have water that has come to a boil. And what I'm gonna do is make sure to salt the water because that's gonna make sure to season the polenta. And then this is polenta, that beautiful yellow polenta. Isn't that gorgeous? It's just cornmeal. So we're gonna put it right in. Look at that beautiful, beautiful color. And you should whisk while you're pouring just to make sure there's no lumps. With that, I'm gonna add some heavy cream. That's just gonna further add a richness to it. Then we're gonna let this come to a simmer and we're gonna cook just for a few minutes until that polenta has absorbed all this. What I love about polenta, unlike mashed potatoes or something, it comes together so quickly. So you can see now it's this beautiful creamy polenta. We're gonna up that a little bit. We're gonna add some butter. And we're gonna add some Parmesan cheese. So what this does is really finish it off into this beautiful, creamy, well-seasoned polenta. And what I wanna make sure I do is just stir it until that room temperature butter is going to just melt into it, and it keeps it, to me, the perfect texture. Now, I think it needs a little bit of black pepper. That's just how I like my polenta. You do what you want. I personally can add copious amounts of black pepper to almost anything, and I get that from my mom. But if you look at this, look at that just gorgeous texture of that polenta. That is perfect, and it smells so good from that Parmesan. And yes, I'm using real Parmesan, I'm grating it. Don't use the bottled powdered stuff. Not gonna work for here. I'm fine if you use that on your pizza. Don't use it in here. It's not gonna give you the same effect. So what we have now is a meal. See how nice this could be? And what's great is you could have made these the morning before, had them in the fridge ready to go and bake later. You could even have them raw, freeze them, pull them out as you need them. That to me is kind of the best part of this, is you can make it work for you. Now do you see that beautiful polenta? You could serve this in a bowl. You want that creamy, beautiful, saucy texture. And remember, polenta will continue to set up. That's the nature of polenta. So what we're gonna do is put it right on there. We're gonna clean up the plate a little bit. Pretend you're in a restaurant. It's just part of the fun. And then we're gonna put a beautiful meatloaf meatball with that sauce right with it. I mean, look at this. If that isn't appetizing, and then you eat it together. And as you should, when you look into it, look at that beautiful texture. That's from that quick cooking oatmeal we put in. It has all the flavor from those aromatics we got ready. That's so good. For me personally, it's like Sunday dinner because we had meatloaf almost every Sunday. Mom loved it. And it tastes like home. It tastes like her meatloaf because it pretty much is. And that polenta underneath, that creaminess is perfect complement with this, but also has that texture of the polenta in it. Oh, it's so good. This is delicious together. It's delicious separate, and it's a perfect meal. So what I hope you do with this is get excited. I hope you make this with me. I hope you get the recipe off my website, wiseguy.com, and I hope you share this video around so other people too can see how exciting and delicious and beautiful a home-cooked meal can be. Because if I can do it, you can do it, I promise. Get cooking.